You're the person everyone calls when something needs to get done. The reliable one, the capable one, the one who always figures it out. And you wear that identity like armor, don't you? But here's what no one tells you about being indispensable. The moment people discover your full capacity, the moment they see how much you can actually handle, how efficiently you work, how quickly you solve problems, that becomes your new baseline. Your excellence becomes your cage. What you can do becomes what you must do. And suddenly, you're not being rewarded for your competence. You're being punished for it. More work, higher expectations, less appreciation. Because once people know what you're truly capable of, they'll expect it every single time. And they'll resent you the moment you dare to be human, the moment you need rest, the moment you can't perform at peak capacity. This is the trap of revealed potential. And if you're exhausted, burnout, and wondering why your competence keeps buying you more burden instead of more freedom, you've already fallen into it. Strategic withdrawal is a psychological and tactical approach to protecting your energy, autonomy, and long-term sustainability by deliberately concealing your full operational capacity from others. It's not about laziness or underperformance. It's about understanding a brutal truth. In most environments, especially workplaces and even relationships, your maximum effort doesn't earn you rest or reward. It earns you more expectations. Psychologists who study organizational behavior have documented this phenomenon repeatedly. High performers are systematically assigned more work without proportional compensation or recognition because their competence makes them the path of least resistance. This pattern often originates in childhood, particularly for those who grew up in environments where love, attention, or safety was conditional on performance. You learned early that being helpful meant being valued, that solving problems meant mattering, that your worth was directly tied to your utility. So you became hyper-competent. You became the child who could handle adult responsibilities, who didn't complain, who made things easier for everyone around them. And it worked until it didn't. Until you realized that the better you got at carrying weight, the heavier the loads people placed on your shoulders. Strategic withdrawal is the deliberate practice of operating at 70 to 80% of your actual capacity in most situations, reserving your full power for moments that truly matter to you, not to others. It's creating buffer zones between what you can do and what people expect you to do. It's the recognition that transparency about your abilities is often weaponized against you. That revealing your full strength means never being allowed to be weak, never being permitted to have limits, never being given the grace to be imperfect. This isn't deception. It's self-preservation in systems that will extract everything you're willing to give and then ask for more. If you've fallen into the trap of revealed capacity, you'll recognize these patterns intimately. You might find yourself constantly overwhelmed while colleagues who do less seem perfectly balanced, and you can't understand why. It's because they never showed their full hand. They set boundaries early by demonstrating moderate competence, and now their baseline expectations are manageable. But you showed up operating at 100%, solving problems faster and better than required, and now that level of performance is simply expected. You've priced yourself into exhaustion. Some of you experience what's called competence punishment, where being good at your job or reliable in relationships actively makes your life harder. You finish a project efficiently, so you're immediately given 3 more. You handle a crisis calmly, so you become the designated crisis manager for everyone else's chaos. You help someone once, and suddenly you're their permanent solution. Meanwhile, people who take longer, who complain more, who set firmer boundaries are somehow given more grace, more patience, more consideration. They're allowed to have bad days. You're not, because you've demonstrated you can handle anything. So anything is what you'll be given. Others develop what I call the excellence trap, where your identity becomes so fused with high performance that you can't stop even when it's destroying you. You know you should slow down. You know you're being taken advantage of. But pulling back feels like failure, like disappointing people, like proving you're not as capable as they thought. So you keep going, keep delivering, keep exceeding expectations, all while burning out from the inside, resentful and exhausted, but unable to stop performing because your sense of worth is now dependent on being exceptional. And here's the cruelest part. When you finally do break, when you get sick, when you burn out, when you finally say you can't do something, people don't respond with compassion. They respond with surprise, disappointment, sometimes even anger, because you trained them to expect your superhuman capacity. You showed them you could carry everything. So when you finally admit you can't, they don't see someone who needs help. They see someone who's suddenly underperforming. Your breakdown isn't met with support. It's met with confusion about why you're not being yourself anymore. But here's where everything shifts. You have to become strategically unavailable. Not incompetent, not unreliable, but unavailable at your maximum capacity except for things that genuinely serve you. This requires unlearning almost everything you've been taught about how to earn love, respect, and security. It requires accepting that being fully seen often means being fully exploited, and that mystery, boundaries, and strategic limitation are forms of self-respect, not selfishness. Start by conducting an honest audit of where your excellence is being leveraged against you. Which responsibilities did you take on because you could, not because you should? Which expectations exist simply because you've never failed to meet them? Where are you operating at 100% capacity in situations that don't reciprocate that level of investment? These are the areas where strategic withdrawal is necessary. Not abandoning your responsibilities, but recalibrating them to sustainable levels that leave room for your life, your rest, your own priorities. Then comes the practice of deliberate pacing. If you can complete a task in 2 hours, take 3. Not because you're being lazy, but because you're establishing realistic expectations. If you can solve a problem immediately, sometimes you wait. You let others sit with their own challenges for a moment. You stop being the first responder to every crisis that isn't yours. This feels uncomfortable at first because you've tied your identity to being the solver, the fixer, the one who makes things easy for everyone else. But that identity is costing you your life. Learn to say, I'm at capacity, even when you're not technically at capacity. Learn to redirect, to suggest alternatives, to let things not be your problem. Learn that no is a complete sentence and that you don't owe anyone an explanation for having limits. The people who genuinely care about you will respect boundaries. The people who only valued your utility will disappear. And that's not a loss, that's clarity. Strategic withdrawal reveals who relates to you as a person and who relates to you as a resource. There's a concept in game theory called revealed preference, the idea that what people actually do reveals their true priorities more accurately than what they say. When you reveal your full capacity, you're revealing your preferences. You're showing that you'll prioritize others' needs over your own, that you'll sacrifice your peace for their convenience, that you're willing to operate at unsustainable levels to maintain approval. And once that preference is revealed, it will be exploited, not out of malice necessarily, but simply because you've demonstrated you'll allow it. Strategic withdrawal is the practice of protecting your revealed preferences. It's deciding that your full capacity is sacred, reserved for your own dreams, your own rest, your own life, not for becoming the unpaid solution to everyone else's problems. It's understanding that being underestimated is often safer and more sustainable than being fully known. It's recognizing that the people who love you at 70%, who respect you when you have boundaries, who value you even when you're not performing, those are your people. Everyone else was just using you. This year, practice the art of strategic withdrawal. Show up as competent, not superhuman. Be helpful, not indispensable. Be reliable, but not at the cost of your own stability. Keep some of your magic to yourself. Let people wonder what else you're capable of rather than knowing your absolute limits. Because your full capacity isn't a gift you owe the world. It's a resource you get to allocate intentionally. And the most revolutionary thing you can do is finally use some of it on yourself. You're not being selfish. You're being strategic. And that's not a weakness. It's the wisdom you should have learned a long time ago.